No way.
I need you frightened. I need you hopeless.
Welcome back to the chaos. We have a very special episode for you. We are the Reflections of Horror podcast, a horror movie podcast for the girls, the gays, and the non-binary baes. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Cale, and this is our Watcher Reader Wrapped. We're going through our 2024 tops.
Yeah, I had an epiphany, and I looked at Cale, and I was like, and I know I've said before, like, I really used the letterbox this year to track as I was watching, to kind of just try to keep track of what I have seen and what I haven't seen.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I want to go back through and, like, make a top 5. And I think especially in making this podcast, we're trying to really focus on not created by a white man.
Yeah. Yep.
Where I'm just gonna say that's the vibe we're focused around here.
Yeah,
things not turned out by a white man. So, and I think it was also interesting to go back through my list and see what I would perceive as my top movies of the year and who created them. And surprise, they were mostly created by women or queer folk. So, and then I talked Cale into doing a book version for you guys. So, this is not gonna be a 3-hour dissertation. We're just kind of giving you our tops, and we're sending you on your way to either consume those headed into 2025 or just know you're looking for the right things, I guess. Yeah. So,
suggestions.
Yeah.
Not rules.
I don't know about you. I actually didn't rank mine, so, like, these are in no particular order.
Oh, yeah. I can never... numerically, I don't even, like, number rate the things that I read unless it is extreme one way or the other. So...
awful or fantastic. You get a 1 or a 5. Everything else is just being consumed.
Exactly.
I like that. Yeah. So... 2024 brought us Lisa Frankenstein, our queen, Diablo Cody, returning as writer. It was directed by Zelda Williams. Again, a movie that I am adamant will become a cult classic. I think it would be something that we could discuss. I mean, we're probably going to discuss it sooner rather than later, but it is something that reviews will be abysmal. Men will not understand it and drag it, but, like, as women, we sit down and it is this beautiful subversion of Frankenstein and the woman building the perfect boy.
And it's so goth.
Oh, yeah.
In such a great way.
And great nostalgia. They just nailed that.
Yeah,
again, the whole vibe. Love Lies Bleeding, A24 movie. Queen, Rose Glass. Very gay. Very, yeah, I mean, woman-on-woman relationship, and a little bit of, like, one of the women is from, like, a really shitty kind of, like, crime-riddled family, and the girlfriend, what more could you ask from a girlfriend, kind of commits murder to save her from said family, so we love that. I would say horror thriller, like, we talk about these movies of, like, is this a thriller, is this actually horror? Probably teeters more on the thriller side.
Yeah.
Still love it. Don't care. I saw the TV Glow. We're not going to do this again. Go to YouTube. Go into our page. We have a full 2.5-hour episode on it. It is incredible. Again, cult classic for me.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it needs to be on your top list. Blink Twice. This is on our list.
It is on our list.
Dare I say, I think it might be the next episode after Candyman.
I think so, yeah.
Zoe Kravitz's debut as director and writer, I think, wonderfully done movie. I think it was a really good movie in the fact that the trailer did not ruin it. So you get a little something that comes and you're like, oh crap, wow, okay, now we're going in a different direction. There's a Beyonce song in it when the final girls kick up and you're like, yeah! So again, incredible. And then my last for my top list is The Substance by Coralie Fargeat.
Yeah, okay. I'm impressed that made it to your top.
Hey, I can give body horror credit where it's due.
Okay. Yeah, I respect that because, like, for sure, I love that.
Was I crawling out of my skin and super uncomfortable? Yes, but again, underneath your body horror, the underlying conversation of like beauty standards and just the shit we go through as aging women, you can't underwrite it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's actually, like, in some of the rankings that I've seen, it's like one of the top films of the year, which is great to see, you know, especially, like, I just love it when horror gets its recognition, especially body horror, because that's my thing.
I do have some honorable mentions made by men, because men do good stuff too sometimes.
Sometimes they make good art.
And I have to admit that. And that just shows you how good these fucking movies are that I would discuss them.
Yeah.
Abigail. And hilariously enough, I don't have any of the men's names that made these movies, and that is fine with me, but just know. Abigail, such a fun vampire movie. I almost want to call it a slasher because, like, the gore in it is a little campy, a little bit.
It's good.
It is a movie that, if I could go back in time, I am a little upset that the trailer gave you that she was a vampire. Right. I think it would have been absolutely phenomenal had they...
If that was a surprise.
They could have marketed it as a like a heist movie.
Yeah.
And then the kid just could have been a vampire, and that would have been out of this world.
That would have been really good.
But I digress. So very fun, a little campy, really enjoy it. Strange Darling. So it has 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it is every bit deserving of that score.
Okay.
It is shot in 35 millimeter. It is, dare I call it a slasher? It's like a little bit of this basically cat and mouse, man and woman dynamic.
Okay.
And I don't want to give it away because I think the marketing doesn't give it away. But again, you get a twist that is really well written. And I like that it is not shot chronologically.
Okay.
So again, in plot development and how you're delivering that, they discuss these different mechanisms you can use, and one of them is giving things out of order. So it's like it goes by chapters.
Oh.
And I forget the order, but it'll pop up on the screen and be like chapter 5, and then you get a blurb, and then it rolls backwards and it's like chapter 2. So then they take you back in time. So the back and forth is very good.
I love non-chronological storytelling. It's very good.
So, interesting enough, I normally struggle with it. It is usually not my preference, but this was a very good delivery of it.
Excellent.
And then as I told you at work, I just watched Cuckoo.
Oh yeah.
With Hunter Schafer.
Yes.
And to me, Hunter Schafer's performance in that is I'm gonna blank on her friggin' name. What's her face in Hereditary?
Toni Collette.
Toni Collette. It is on that level.
Really?
Like, I think she should be nominated for anything and everything.
Okay.
On a mainstream level. Yeah. Like, I'm not talking this, like, independent horror lead. Yeah. No, I'm talking put it on the main stage because she was fucking incredible.
Okay. All right. I will. That's been on my list. I know that we were gonna try and go and see it in theaters, and then it didn't work out because
limited release. It was in theaters for like a week where we live, which I was like, that is stupid.
Yeah.
It was Strange Darling, actually. I was gonna drag you guys to that too, and then it just wasn't in theaters.
That's really depressing. That's one of the problems of living in kind of a mid city, right?
But. I feel like Cuckoo altered my brain chemistry.
Oh, I love that. I love it when a piece of media or a piece of art does that, because then it just
the way that he shot it, and it's very much family moves to a remote setting, but it's like it's not like remote like cabin in the woods. It's like they kind of move to like this lodge area. Okay. Again, I don't even want to talk about it too much. You get a gay twist because there's a lesbian that gets involved. And my new thing is now, and I literally watch the movie alone, but if I'm watching something and I get a same-sex relationship, I go, lesbians! I'll be on the couch. I'll just give it a kick. Lesbians! That's my new thing. And I did it down here in the basement by myself. I was like, oh, she's got a little girly.
I love that. That's great.
So you get a little bit of that in there too. So I felt like that aspect was written well too.
Nice.
Which hilariously enough, I was like, is this man like bisexual? Like, how did he actually not make this nasty?
See, right? That's one of the that's one of the things because I just love because as we'll see with some of my top books, I couldn't go just women because a lot of my top books were written by queer men. But my number one entered me into an era of just like new thinking about how to write my own stories and stuff is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Obviously this was my first year reading it. And I feel almost ashamed to say that because like it's such a pinnacle in like the horror sci-fi genre. Yeah. And I mean, she wrote this when she was like 16.
I mean, you got me on this train.
Yeah.
You kind of, I don't mean to say lecture in a bad way, but you gave me the spiel and I was like, damn, I need to nut up and I need to nut up too.
Yeah, it's good. It's so beautiful and there's so many lines and stuff that I pull out of it and that I really think about, I'm really inspired by, and I'm kind of working on. I know everybody under the sun has reimagined Frankenstein, but I'm going to do it too because I can.
Yeah,
and
it's just going to be incredible. I can't wait to read it.
Thank you.
I need to get on reading it because aren't we getting a new Frankenstein in 2025?
Yeah, we are.
So
Guillermo del Toro. Oscar Isaac is going to be playing Victor Frankenstein, and then Jacob Elordi, I think, is going to be playing the creature, which I have neutral feelings on him, but I do love Oscar Isaac just like so much, and I can't wait to see him go crazy as a doctor. I love it. So yeah, I'm really ready to make that my whole new personality too. It's been a minute.
I'll support that for you.
Thank you. Number 2, again, not really in any particular order, but Cuckoo came out this year, by Gretchen Felker-Martin. I really enjoyed her first book, Manhunt. And the premise of this book is kind of like these, it's a conversion camp for like queer teens they're taken to, and then it's the situation where it's like there's something wrong here that is beyond just the wrongness of the adults there. Gives very It vibes. There's lots of characters, lots of gender, lots of body fluid. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I've read it the same month it came out, but I had to take a break because I had to finish a different book, and I was really upset because I really wanted to finish this one. But I love pretty much everything that Gretchen's done, and Manhunt I think is getting a series.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm super excited about. But yeah, I love Gretchen, and then she posted my shelf talker on her Instagram, and I was so excited about it.
Cale is kind of a big deal on social media.
You know what? I'm trying with my 85 followers. And then another book that came out in September, Compound Fracture by Andrew Joseph White. Also another one of my favorite authors right now. It's basically a blood feud following a family in North Virginia. Is there West Virginia?
Oh, I thought you meant like the northern Virginia.
No, in West Virginia.
In the other Virginia.
In the other Virginia. Yeah, it's really well done. It's actually like kind of more YA thriller.
Okay.
But still there's something about the way that Andrew can just write brutality and somehow still be considered YA. That's crazy. It is really interesting because Hell Falls With Us and Spirit Bares Its Teeth, which was his sophomore novel, has one of the most brutal scenes I've ever read. Still somehow YA, Peachtree, Penguin Teen, whatever. Next year he's coming out with his first adult novel that is,
and you're like buckle up.
I'm terrified. I'm genuinely terrified. Do
you think, like, are we talking so brutal, like, do you think his adult novel could teeter on like splatterpunk, Or
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Like, just to give some, like, reference. In Spirit Bears Its Teeth, there is a scene where the main character is essentially cutting open another girl to dig out her fetus. In a bathtub kind of thing.
Yeah, that's giving not YA.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. And somehow it is still classified as YA.
Do you think he's just like sending stuff in for approval and they approve it as YA and then he actually publishes like the full story?
I don't know. I wish I knew how that worked, but I splurged and I bought a very cool special edition of all 3 of his books. Nice. Very beautiful, like gilded stain edges, extra art, inside pages, and Hell Followed With Us was signed, which was really great because my copy of Hell Followed With Us got eaten by my mom's dog. Oh. And I had to duct tape it back together. So which like, if you know the Hell Followed With Us story, it makes sense for Benji the character because he's very like creatures scrapped together kind of thing. So I don't mind that, but I'm also really happy to have a fancy copy too. Yeah. But yeah, Compound Fracture was great. I really enjoyed it, and I just love him, and I can't wait to see what he does. I think he's the kind of his work is the kind of stuff that I would be a different person if I had as a teenager.
Aw, yeah, we love those. We absolutely love those.
Absolutely. And then I also have on here Young Mungo, written by Douglas Stuart, is a Scottish writer. And this one is essentially like a Protestant boy and a Catholic boy in like 80s Scotland, I think, end up falling for each other, which is like,
love that. That sounds right up your alley.
Yeah, it's really sad.
But I guess it goes in a different direction.
It goes, yeah. I referenced it in our Black Christmas episode. Yeah. It's really sad. It's kind of told in dueling storylines, dueling timelines.
Oh, okay.
Where like he is reflecting back on these events that happened with his love interest, and while he's on this camping trip with these 2 strange men. Oh. That his mom just kind of sent him along on.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaker for sure. It's a heartbreaker. It's definitely like a check your triggers kind of book, but it is so it had me in a chokehold. And yeah, I have a hard time recommending it, but it's still my only 5-star read this year.
There you go. So if
if you like being hurt, read that. And then I also have on here Plastic by Scott Guild. It's such a weird, cool book.
Yeah.
It is set in this world where it's like kind of implied that there's been like this nuclear war maybe, but everybody is like a plastic figurine.
Okay.
And they're all going through their little plastic figurine lives, and they all speak in this really clipped, almost text speech.
Okay.
Kind of way, and is following this main character, Erin, who's like kind of reflecting on her lost love and her obsession with this TV show. And it is so strange. I don't think I've ever read anything like it before. And then also, Scott Guild came to the store, and he is super cool and a really, really great writer. And yeah, shout out to Rachel too. Rachel's really cool. The golf is on my list. But yeah, it's unlike anything I've read before. It will make you cry over a waffle. So, yeah, it's good. So I think that's my top 5. I wouldn't say Young Mungo is horrific. It's not horror. And Plastic is more, I don't even know how to classify Plastic.
We love things like that, though.
Yeah,
where I love there's not a bucket I can throw this in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so like, it's so itself, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, that's my wrap.
I love that.
Think.
Yeah. I do have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
And I've been meaning to ask you this. How do you feel? Because I want a chance to yap about this. That's why I'm throwing this softball up for us.
Okay.
How do you feel about the question, what's your favorite book? I feel like you're going to have a similar answer as to when people go, what's your favorite scary movie?
Yeah. I can't, it's so hard for me to answer what's my favorite book because there are so many books that have had such a fundamental influence on like who I am as a person and my own art and everything. I can name a few top ones, but I can never really name like a this is my favorite book. This is the book that is my ultimate thing. I just can't
Yeah.
because I'll start talking about one thing and then I'll be like, but wait, there's this other
Yeah.
thing that is both really good too. So I can't really do a top and I can't really do a ranked and I have a really hard time with it actually. I'm like, that's a not fair question.
I think media ebbs and flows with the times, with your mood.
Mhm.
What are you looking for? Like my biggest thing when people are like, and again, sometimes since starting this podcast and trying to post content about horror movies, people will come out of the woodwork from, obviously I've had interaction with them and be like, what's your favorite scary movie?
Yeah.
Almost as a little bit of like, name the starting 11 of, or the starting lineup of this sports team.
Right.
A little bit, like that's
Or
the air that I take it with.
Is it giving, or like, for someone who is not a sports person and doesn't really know what that means,
Like,
is it also like, oh, we'll name their top 10 albums or something like that kind of thing?
Yeah, like,
Okay.
prove that you know is the vibe that I get with
okay.
some people.
Yeah.
Other people, it almost just confuses me because I can't fathom asking and being like, what's your favorite movie? Because my first response is, well, what subgenre?
Yeah, like what are we talking? Favorite what? Like
Yeah.
favorite like thriller,
Yeah.
favorite drama, favorite horror, favorite animated.
And
like
then
it's
still, once we get into subgenre, I'm probably going to give you a top 3 to top 5.
yeah, exactly. I can do a top 5. I can never do a 1.
But I feel like I've gotten closer because with this thought of Jennifer's Body and Black Christmas 2019, do you feel like, because I feel like I'm getting closer, could you make like a Mount Rushmore of books or horror movies that you feel like someone must consume? But again, it's still going to be tailored to what I think.
Or like maybe, yeah, exactly. It's going to be tailored to what you think, what your preferences are. What about like a triple helix kind of thing? Like, what are the 3 things that have like made up your DNA? Or 2 things. Or I like triple helix because it gives you more options.
As in, like my movie watching DNA?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think that's a more dynamic way to ask that.
Yeah. I'm not gonna answer that because I don't have an answer. Do you have an answer?
Maybe I have.
See, you don't have an answer.
No, I kind of actually do. I have the top 3 that I think that are different aspects of my personality.
Okay.
And that is, they're not horror movies. These are all over the map. So
Okay,
it's like
fine.
we have. I'm gonna get a lot of laughs for this one. Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron affected me on a very profound level.
I have no idea what that is.
It is a DreamWorks animated movie about a horse.
Oh, I love that. My mom does horse stuff.
Yeah, and my mom does horse stuff. I like to joke that I'm a horse girl in recovery, and I still watch that movie. I remember last time I watched it with my niece and nephew, and they're watching it, and I'm in the back. I'm breaking down crabs or something for like this meal that my brother's making, and I'm choking up watching this and like knowing that my niece and nephew are also watching it because it's just like,
yeah,
it's so good. It's so good. It's just such a good movie. And then probably also Bones and All.
Okay.
Because that just really, it was very deeply affecting to me. And there's something about Luca's movies that just really kind of cut me to the core.
We need to add that to the list. It needs to be, we're bumping that to the front end. Because we plan out ahead.
Yeah.
And then we basically plan out ahead again to not get caught off guard.
Yeah.
So we're almost to needing to plan another chunk. So we've got to bump that to the front.
I just have so much to say about that movie.
You need your dissertation.
I know, and I definitely have a
episode.
dissertation. And then my other dissertation is Bo Burnham's Inside.
Yes!
Just because I watched that, I don't know, in a time of my life that I just so needed something to make my personality, right? And I did make it my personality. And I watched it I've probably watched the actual special itself over 100 times,
I love
not including outtakes, which is like this part 2 that he dropped a year later, and not including how many times I've listened to it on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I just have watched it so many times that I've actually convinced myself that like kind of at its like woven into it, it is a psychological horror.
Oh, okay.
It is like this just kind of documentation of this descent into like artistically driven madness or isolated madness or something like that. And it was created over COVID, right? During a time when we were all locked inside, right? So I could write a dissertation on that. Easy. Yeah, so that's the triple helix of my personality.
I'm gonna have to think about this, and we'll probably have to discuss it in a different episode. I can say I think Fight Club would be on my list.
Yeah, that rocks.
Because Fight Club was the first movie that made me realize you can be anti to society. And I don't know why Fight Club was the first movie that concept clicked for me, but like looking at society, looking what others are doing, and being like, that is actually not for me.
Yeah,
I want to go in this path.
Yeah, that rocks. I love that, especially because I love because like American Psycho is also one of my favorite movies, right? And those I feel like are both very branded like film movies, right? And I love taking that and being like, you don't understand it, but I do, because I like being more pretentious than the most pretentious people on earth.
Obviously that's what we live for. I'm trying to think if I'm gonna have to think about that. That's the only one that stands out to me. It's like a for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Let's get back to us on that. I think I'm very curious, actually.
And I am sorry that I didn't preface both these questions to off mic because I forgot that I thought about asking these. Another one that I stumbled upon on the TikTok, because again, that's what we consume. But it was actually an interview between it was somebody interviewing somebody about social interactions and basically getting past these like small talk. What do you do for a living?
Yeah.
And they were kind of prefacing like, don't ask people what they do because they might not prioritize their job as their utmost being.
Right. Yeah.
And I was
as
like,
their personality. Yeah.
And then she prefaced different questions you could ask. And one of them, which this blew my mind and basically made me go cross-eyed because I'm like, oh, I don't know how I would answer that. It was something to the effect of like, what character from a movie or book do you most associate with?
Oh, yeah. See, that's acting that's asking the real questions, I think, of like,
and
you get so many different aspects of a person when they answer that, I think.
And I was like, oh shit, that would catch me completely off guard in a social setting or ever. Like, I'm gonna probably have to take notes over our work break and figure these questions out because I'm like, she was saying the woman that she asked the question to immediately was like Katniss Everdeen. And she was like, I had a really insightful conversation with this woman that explained that she was like a mother of however many kids, and she just felt like she was fighting for her life every day.
Oh my God.
And I'm like,
okay.
I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
But that's so true, because when you associate with a character, it's probably going to be on a level of like...
Yeah. Of like something like that. Something I feel like even almost unexpected, right? Because like you say someone like Katniss Everdeen, and I imagine someone who thinks that they're like Katniss Everdeen, right? But like I like being able to hear the reasoning behind it, because I think that lends so many different layers of like, oh, that's what you're dealing with. Yeah, that's cool.
I would simply be like, I associate with the final girl from any slasher movie because I am just trudging through trauma and horrific things daily and trying to come out on top.
Hey, there you
go.
I
feel like that would be my answer.
Yeah, well, I feel like, yeah, if that's your answer, I think that's a great answer, you know? I think it just lends a lot to, because I like to think that I know you pretty well at this point. I think that makes sense. Yeah. It's also cool.
I would definitely want my final girl song to be Beyonce. I can't wait till we do Blink Twice because I want to hear what you think of the scene.
Also, did you know Beyonce was in a Thriller in like 2010?
What?
It's called Obsessed.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones that every time it was on like HBO or something, I would just put it on.
Yeah. Let it run in the background.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's the wrap for the year.
Wrapped.
I'm excited for 2025. I think we have a lot of good things in the pipeline.
We do. I've got some ideas.
Yeah.
Look out.
Yeah. We're gonna have some free time on our hands, so you might get a little extra something here in the upcoming months and or weeks. Hopefully.
Maybe. We'll see.
You know, merch, maybe a book, maybe bookmarks, maybe stickers.
Maybe all of the above.
If you have requests for us, leave us a comment on YouTube or the social medias. We want to hear from you guys. We want this to be interactive. Like we said, it's a bit of a slow burn right now, a bit of a slog. We're building
momentum.
Yeah, we're trying to wrap our head around where we want this to go and what it's going to become, and we are so thankful for all the people who have gotten behind it. And I think it's like it's giving us a little taste of like, okay, this can get legs and grow if we figure out how to beat capital A algorithm and find more people. So
that's the biggest thing. But for the people who have found us, we love you and we really appreciate you. So thank you for your support and happy holidays.
Happy holidays, happy new year. 2025 will come. We will do another 365 days and we will make it, you guys.
We'll make it.
And we will consume all sorts of good horror movies, books. It's gonna be great.
It is.
2025, I feel like, is the year of the monster. You're getting Werewolf, Frankenstein, and Nosferatu's coming out at the end of 2024, so I can lump them in 2025.
Toss them in there.
So I think it's going to be good.
I love me some monsters. All right.
Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
Watch out for those weirdos.
We are the weirdos, mister.